Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the American Muslim Senior Society, AMS Ambassadors long-term training. Today's topic is about Islamic State planning. First of all, I would like to go over some Zoom housekeeping instructions to better facilitate this meeting. But at the beginning, let me introduce myself. My name is Malak Abdul Hamid, and I am AMS Program Specialist and also Volunteer Ambassadors. So, first of all, why you are joining the program? As a frontline volunteer ambassadors, AMS will always make sure that their volunteers ambassadors are prepared and well-trained to serve the isolated members of the community and always update you with the newest community resources and always be there to answer your questions. Please note that all the audience are being muted to avoid any background noise or distraction. So don't worry if you didn't hear yourself talking to us at the meantime. Please be noted as well that this meeting is being recorded for future training purposes. And this training will take 1 hour of your time. As you all know, we are using Zoom platform. Please make sure that your speakers or headset are turned on and the volume is turned up. You can see here the meeting ID and the password. And if you are using a telephone device, please make sure to dial this number that you see in green in order to connect yourself to the audio and be able to listen to the training. For the question and answers sessions, please submit your questions at any time through the chat box on Zoom and type it where it says type your questions. I will show you that in a second, and don't forget to click send. We will have an interactive session in the last 10 to 15 minutes for comments. Here, this is your, just to let you know about Zoom, you can see here the Zoom screen. Always look for the bottom toolbar. Sometimes it's in the bottom, other times it's on top. Look for the chat button that looks like that under the green arrow. Right after clicking on the chat button, a white box will open on your right side of your computer screen. Type your message where it says here, type your message here. You can send it to everyone or select from the drop menu any person you want to send a private message to. Don't forget to click send. The meeting agenda, as you can see on the screen, we will have the presentation will last actually for 40 to 45 minutes, and then the questions and answers. And right after that, we will be having a quick ambassadors meeting with Mrs. Najm. Now, please join me in welcoming and thanking Mr. Yasser Zia. Mama Muna, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Malak. Mr. Zia, welcome to the AMS family. We're so happy that you could join us today, and we all look forward to your exciting presentation. I'm going to let you present yourself to them, give them your background information, and I'll let you start your training right away. So please be my guest. Go ahead.
Jazakallah khair, sister.
It's all yours. Go ahead.
All right.
I stopped my sharing. You can go ahead and share your screen.
I got you.
Sure.
I think you have to enable me to share.
Oh, okay. Give me 1 second. Try now.
Okay, I got you.
Thank you.
All right. All right, you guys can see my screen?
Yes.
All right. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Jazakallah khair, and I really appreciate your opportunity to talk to you guys and present myself. Before we start, Bismillah. It is just such a great pleasure to talk to you guys. I had a privilege of attending one of your meetings last year in Silver Spring, and it was just such a huge fun day. And thank you again, Sister Muna, for inviting, and Malik. Again, I'm sorry that I mispronounced your name last time, but thank you very much for everything putting together. A brief introduction about myself. I'm a financial planner. We have a brokerage firm running for quite a few years. Why I came to in this business in 2005, I lost my father in US. He was 45 years old when he had a sudden brain hemorrhage. And after that, I see a couple other family friends. One of his friend died recently in 2007 without any um, he sudden heart attack and he passed away in a young age. So what I look at it, especially in Pakistani community, we saw that it's a very missed. Uh, Nobody take prepare about themselves about financial planning or any financial source. So they never pay any attention, so they never focus on it. So I start learning the financial services, came into it, and slowly then from 2011 we went to full time into it. Then we had a question from a lot of our clients that we um, gather our income halal way and we want to distribute our assets to our next generation in Islamic Sharia way, but we can't find any person to do it. So it's very hard to find attorneys, or if we find attorneys, they are very, very expensive. So we need a resource. Can you please help us? So I was able to hire a couple attorneys, and we did a research of Islamic law and American law for a couple of years before we start offering the services. So what we came up that how can we combine both laws the way that it doesn't, backlash on Islamic law as well as American law. We don't want any Islamophobic judge to say, this is not American, Sharia country, not Islamic country. So we will not honor this Islamic law. So we design our estate planning system that we take all the requirement from Islamic law and distribute every asset according to Quran. But we, in our will, we doesn't say anywhere that this is a Sharia will or Islamic will. So we fulfill both of those issues. And so the topic wise, I'm going to give a brief description about Islamic state planning, Islamic wills, why it is important, what are the requirements in Islamic law, what are the legal requirements, why it is Islamic, and why it was forced by, in Quran and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just a small legal disclaimer. This is just any, information. If you need to have discussions, if you have any legal matters, please discuss with your attorneys. Or you have legal matters that we can have one-on-one meetings to go through it. Okay, we're gonna start with it. I'm gonna speed through a little bit because we have a shortage of time. If anybody have any general questions, they are welcome to ask. But if they have any personal questions, I would love to talk to them one-on-one. My phone number is gonna be on every single screen. We like to have a confidentiality of every single client, and every person is a different scenario. We do not like to discuss everybody's matter in a journal meetings. So they can call me anytime, and I would love to answer any questions they have. So as for, there's two hadiths, we're gonna start from there. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that learn inheritance and teach it, for it is a half of the knowledge, and it will be forgotten, and it will be the first thing taken away from an ummah. And the second thing is learn inheritance and teach it to people, for knowledge will decrease until two people would differ amongst themselves over inheritance, but wouldn't find an arbitrator. So it is very, very important. If we look at it, Islamic point of view, we pray Salah 5 times a day. And in Quran, Allah says, Akimus salata wa atu zakata, pray your Salah all the times. But in Quran, there's no exact definition when, how, how many rakats, how many sujuds, and how to perform. And one, we have to follow those in Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But inheritance is such a deep topic and such an important topic that Allah describes everybody's share in a Quran. What is a share to son, father, mother, wife, everybody, because this is the essence of building a family and then building a community. If you can't build a family, then there's a problem building a community. Just for instance, as a human, we can never be as just as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, if a person have a son who's 5 years old and father who's 85 years old, and he want to give all of his wealth to his son, and he will say, my father already left his live his life. He doesn't need the money anymore. But in Quran, Allah says that you do not know who's more benefit to you. So that's why Allah have a share, Allah put a share for relatives, parents, childrens, and describe it to the fractions that nobody can make any issue or any problem with it. On today's agenda, what is state planning? Who needs a state planning? What makes Islamic? Components of estate planning, questions, answers at the end. Malik, there's I think 3 people in a waiting room. So what makes your state? Islamic state, a state makes your house, your cars, your jewelry, your businesses, your checking or saving accounts, as well as your life insurance or any other assets you have. That's a combination word for state. All right, what are the goal of state planning? Control your property while you are alive, take care of your ourselves, and if we become disabled, and our loved ones when we pass away. So basically, you want to have a proper game plans in this country when you are living. You have to have full control of your asset. You want to take care of yourself when you are living, and take care of your family members, as well as if you pass away, you want to distribute it according to Islamic law, as well as protecting your asset and your children's. Save every single tax dollars, professional fees, legal, court legal costs, possibly. So legally. So if you do a proper state planning, you can avoid your probate, you can avoid your executor costs, you can avoid a lot of expensive court fees and legal fees, just having your estate planning done. What makes Islamic? In Quran, Allah says it is ordained for you when death approaches any of you, and he is leaving wealth, that he makes a testament in favor of his parents and nearest relative, a duty upon those who have taqwa, in Surah Baqarah. And then in Surah Nisa, there's a share for man and share for woman from what is left by parents and those nearest relative, whether the property is a small or large, and the legal share. So no matter who, what is your property, if you have a house, if you have anything, you should have a will drawn, and you should have a taken care of, because the only thing we don't know when it's going to approach is a death. And before that, we should be prepared, and we should have proper documentations ready for us. Also in hadith, this is very, very, 2 of the hadiths are very prominent and very well known. Narrated by Abdullah bin Umar anhu, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, "It is not permissible for any Muslim who has something to will and stay for 2 nights without having a last will and testament written and kept ready with him." Second, this is even such a great hadith that, glad tiding about Jannah. It says, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, a man may do a good deed for 70 years, but if he act unjustly when he leaves the last testament, the wickedness of his deed will seal upon him and he will be entered into fire. And if on the other hand, a man act wickedly for 70 years, but he is just in his last will and testament, the goodness of his deed will be sealed upon him and will be entered into a garden. So if we just analyze this hadith, that there's a few things. If we just do justice on distributing our own wealth to our own family, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is promising us with the Jannah. And there's very other few things that are offered. You never know when the salah is. If we are human, we always mistakes, but only Allah knows our ibadah is being accepted or not. But the commandment in Quran and commandment in Hadith is just distributing your wealth. It's also considered as ibadah and properly, and also you get a glad tiding on. Introduction of Islamic inheritance law. So our distribution. If anything happened to a person, the first thing we take care of is funeral, burial expenses, then any loans or any debt we have. Wasiya. Wasiya word is used for a discretionary share of 1/3. So every person only 1/3 of their share to distribute anybody they want. And in the future, I will show you what other things they can give or gift on this one. And then we have a Sharia distribution. We're going to focus on Surah Nisa more because Surah Nisa is mainly they explain every single thing on on the inheritance. So ayah 11 it says Yasikumullahu fi awladikum. So Allah instructs you concerning about your children. For I will not read the whole thing, but it will says that for the male what is equal to the share of 2 females, but there's only one doctor. So it's basically describes every single step. Ayah 11 and 12, all the shares are described in both of them, all the scenarios. If there's no children, if you have children, what are those shares accordingly? And if we go on Surah Nisa ayah 13, it says another glad tiding. تلك حدود الله من يطع الله ورسوله يدخل الجنة تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها ذلك الفوز العظيم. These are the limits set by Allah, and whoever obeys Allah and His Messenger will be admitted by Him to the gardens in paradise, under which rivers flow, abiding eternally therein. And that is the great attainment. And on the 14th, basically, it is saying that if you don't follow and if you are unjust, like in I heard in Pakistani culture and some other cultures that one of the son does something bad and the parents say I will take your share away from your assets. You will not inherit anything from my wealth. So it says that whoever disobey Allah and His Messenger and transgress against His limits, He will put him into the fire to abide eternally therein and will have a humiliating punishment. Just on one simple step, and we never focus on this, we never pay attention to how important the topic of inheritance is. And this is again, a sunnah. So what are the minimum documents required to have estate planning? The minimum documents, we have 2 different plans depending on scenarios. Usually some people need last will and testament, durable power of attorney for finance, advanced healthcare directive, and living will, living trust. The first, basically, if you don't have assets and if you only have a children under 18 and you are working, you haven't acquired any major assets, you should have at least these three documents: last will, durable power of attorney, and advanced health care, because they can protect the guidance system on your children, and they can, protect you in the future. What is required to have a valid will? A will must be basic requirements, 18 in most states and can be lower in special cases. A tester must be sound and sound mind and free will, understand what is he or she signing. Will must be written, writing, and to be valid. Holographic will is the one you written by hand. So some state recognize it, but majority times they don't. So you should have a well written and a will. And you should have a notarized as well, because you never know if you can find those witness again when you ever need it. A will should have an opening statement, declaration of will and testament, revocations of all the previous will, and at least have one beneficiary. Pros and cons of will. Uh, the one of the main thing, the best pros for just the will is naming a guardian for minor kids. If you have a children's under 18 and you want them to grow on Islamic, you know, if you live, if for God say anything happened to any of us, for example, for me, the biggest assets I have is my children, and I want to have them, become a Muslim and practice, be a practicing Muslim kids. So if anything happened to both of us, we want them to stay with the Muslim family. We do not want them to go into the state foster system. So that's one of the key element of having a will written. Secondary, you choose your own executor, which distribute your assets or whatever wealth you have to your beneficiary. And it does, go through probate, but basically you have it. Third, the main cons are must go through process. Probate process does not control jointly owned assets with beneficiary designations. Minimum tax planning. Conflict with the state law. So this is one of the another important things. So if you, we have to, combine both Islamic law as well as American law. So these are the conflicts that, under state law, they are okay, but under Islamic law, we can't, they don't inherit anything. So wife from, Jewish or Christian fellowship, non-Muslim children from a Muslim parents, non-Muslim parents, adopted children, in-laws, a step relationship, stepchild, stepmother, stepfather, children born out of wedlock, convicted murder of tester. And how to resolve these? If you have somebody, for example, if you adopted a child and you want to give them something, remember we talk about 1/3 of the share being a wasiya. You can give them from the 1/3 of your discretionary shares. Another thing, we always need to take care of it. We need to have a system done that, need to pay off all the debt. Um, there's a few well-known hadiths and matters that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, would not offer a funeral prayer for the person in debt. And then the other one is the soul of the believer is attached to his debt until the debt is paid off. So there's a story that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam went to, was going by a cemetery, and there was a funeral prayer of a sahabi, and other sahabis offer Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam request, can you perform the prayer? And they ask him, does this person owe anything to anybody? Does he have any debt on him? And they say, yes, he does. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that I cannot perform it. You just go ahead and pray. And then somebody went up and they paid off their debt, and then they requested Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that can you please and perform or pray the um, salat, and they did it. That to Allah that we usually forgot. Unpaid zakat, unaccomplished hajj, if we miss any fasting days, kafara, uh, any other vow that we promise, or any other sacrifice that we haven't missed. That to people. So number one is the deferred meher. Meher, people are just it should be paid as soon as possible if you're upon marriage. Or some people they say we will pay later, but they should have paid as soon as possible. Credit card payments, car loans, mortgage loans, home equity, donation amount pledged during fundraising. So a lot of people in a masajids, when they go and they raise and they pledge a lot of money, but when time comes to pay those, they disappear. So that's very important on those. Loans from banks, relatives, any other anything interested in you, any amount, if somebody leaves something to you. Borrowed item taxes. These are all debt on people that we have to pay. This is an interesting concept in the Islamic will. Some people like it, some people don't like it. Having a life insurance, it's very, debated subject. We're not going to go into the Islamic point of view, but that life insurance proceedings comes after the death. So it is not, inside of your, basically your inheritance is on the time of the death, whatever is under your name and whatever you own. And insurance will definitely go to the beneficiaries, whoever the beneficiary you assign, they will go through it. Document required for basic estate planning. So last will, as I said, use distribute properties to the beneficiary. About your specify your last wishes, name executor, guardian for the minor children. Without last will, the court will appoint executor and may take a critical decision for you. So executor is a person who distribute your asset to your family, and if you don't choose it, the court will appoint one. And the worst thing is they will come and they, for example, if your house worth $1 million, their goal is to come and fire sale the house, and they will first evaluate, they will charge you up to 10% of your asset, and then they will fire sell your house as soon as possible, and they take your fees and gone. Advanced medical directive. This is very, very, very important documents for all the Muslims. Basically, this documents controls, all the burial procedures, all the medical decisions, all the, life prolonging decisions. If you want to donate any organs or not, or, burial arrangements. If you want to have a burial in US or whatever, according to, so one of our bad story happened in Annapolis. I live near Annapolis. One of our brother was reverted and his family never accepted him as a Muslim. And he passed away a few years ago, and the family actually cremated his body. So after, when I heard, I talked to all the imams, I say, anybody who's a new Muslim, please let me know and I will create this document free for them. So at least this is a duty on the Muslim community to bury a Muslim according to Islamic law. Durable financial power of attorney. So if somebody is in a situation that they cannot handle their finances, they are sick or they are out of country or anything happened to them, or they need to have access to bank or anything. So under this document, they can give a power to somebody and they can go and arrange any of their financial affairs. Probate. The probate is a legal process which validate and determine the ownership of the property. It allows the transfer of wealth when the testator dies. So it is, in a simple way, probate is a process of transferring wealth from a dead to a live. Important, functions about probate proceeding: collecting and taking possession of a deceased property, uh, protections and preserving a deceased estate, paying all the debt, claims, and taxes, determining who is entitled to the asset distributions, distributing a property according to the last will, and if there's no will, probate law. Depending on each state, probate and administrative fees can consume between 6 to 10% of your estate. The percentage is calculated before the deductions of liens and are taken out. So it's about 6 to 10% of your total estate will go to probate if you don't have, proper estate planning documentations. Document for living trust. So this is, if you have a living trust, that's one way to avoid your probate. Living revocable trust of, for the family lost. Basically, this is comprehensive plan we offer. We have a basic and then we have a comprehensive. So you have husband and wife revocable trust, lost will for wife, lost will for husband, living will, which is advanced medical directive, power of attorney, funding documents, and transfer of property trust names. So warranty deeds and all those quitclaim deeds. Without a valid will, your state intensity law will apply. State will distribute your wealth according to your preferred rules. Son and daughter will receive equal shares, violating Islamic and law of inheritance. Non-Muslim may become entitled. Probate court will appoint executor and guardian for your minor children. You cannot make, bequest, thus, depriving of sadaqah and benefit to basically, hereafter. And if relative cannot be located, for example, if anything happened to the whole family or anything, state, if nobody comes in a front, state keeps all the assets. Living in US without, without having a plan. If you, everybody gonna die at least once, so this is one question. I will skip through. No will, no trust. A state will be distributed according to the state law. Islamic inheritance system is violated. Loss of charitable opportunities. Federal state taxes, probate court procedures, time consuming. It takes about 6 months to 2 years to basically clear from all the probate systems. Loss of privacy. You have no privacy on your assets. Everybody can see it. And anybody can claim to your assets. With the will, no trust. So state will be distributing according to Islamic law. Opportunity for charitable. Will can be challenged. Federal, state taxes have to be paid. Probate court procedures, time consuming. Fee and lawyer, for the attorneys. Loss of privacy. But the main benefit is that the distribution is according to Islamic law. And with the trust, the state can be distributed according to Islamic law. Opportunity for charitable. Delaying of federal, state taxes. So probate is a living entity by itself, and it avoids probate. The trust. Trust is a living entity by itself and avoids probate at all because all the assets are under trust, and trust is considered as an entity by itself. So, and plus, it's immediate. It takes very little effort, and there's no cost for the attorneys. You don't have to have attorneys to go and fight off and go. Also, all your assets are protected in there. I have a lot of my clients are in the medical field, so they want to control their assets. They want to protect their assets, and once you have under trust, it's very hard to penetrate the trust. And if there's a lawsuit against them. Living trust is a legal entity, revocable. You keep full control. The will is pour over, and the trust we use A and B because that gives the best tax advantage for husband and wife. We have a 3 layers of protections under the comprehensive plan and with basically a trust. So basically your assets are under trust, and then you have a will, which is considered as a pour over will. What does it mean? That, for example, if you have a cars or if you have assets which is not controlled or are property of a trust, the will put them into the trust. They will go to the court and judge will put any assets that is not under the trust with the will, it will transfer to the trust. That's it called pour over will. What is living trust? The 4 components are founder, beneficiary, trustee, and the trustee's properties. Basically, that's about that was the main questions, and this is just final words for thought. Is in Urdu. I know a lot of people won't be able to understand, but I will. It says इंसान एक ऐसा गाफिल मंसूबा साज है वो अपनी सारी प्लानिंग में कभी अपनी मौत को शामिल नहीं.
Yeah.
So what it says that the humans are such a bad planners, and in all their planning, all their life, they never include their death in their planning, which is eminent. As for our planning services, we are name of our brokerage is Freedom Path Financial and Islamic Wills and Trust, and we offer quite a few different services. We have attorneys on board. We have financial planning. We can do from a college planning all the way to the retirement planning, any complex or any minor, from life insurance to anything we can offer. All the services. Some of the services we offer to individuals and some of to the business owners. Wealth distribution strategies, tax planning, a lot of other college education funding and strategies, mortgage protection, and a few other things. So that was, thank you for the time. That was my few slides that I had. And now we can open everybody for questions, and I would love to answer this.
Great, thank you so much, Mr. Yasser. That was amazing, so informative. Actually, I got 2 questions through my text messages. So number 1 is there a template for an Islamic wills that they can use? Or it's just, go to your lawyer and just build it together or something?
Okay, there's a lot of templates online, but every person have different situations. Everybody's family matters are different. So what we find out, the people will download a template, then will complete it, but they don't have any guidance. They don't have anybody teaching them how to complete. They always left out something, and it is not properly done. We've been doing this since almost 2013-14. I think I only found a few people who have fully completed all the templates and they executed properly. So we do offer, personal services to we have one-on-one consultations before we take documentations. We take their, the requirements, and then every single will is drawn, or every single trust is based on the personal, personality of each person.
Okay. The second question is kind of a general question, but I will ask it anyway. So what are the common problems an Islamic will faces in the courts, in the US courts?
So, if you write it properly, then you shouldn't face any problem in a US court. Majority of the times what people, a lot of templates and a lot of other wills, they say, they will start with, this is a Sharia will, this is Islamic law, inheritance, and everything. And once in a while you found a judge who's totally against Islam, who's totally Islamophobic, and they will go up and they will say that, this is Islamic Sharia law, Sharia will, and we are non-Islamic country and we cannot, go through it. Yeah. So for example, this is one of the wills I'm sure. This is one of the sample we have for the person.
It looks like a certificate.
Yeah, so basically, the cover page, it will have everybody's cover page. this is all the cover pages are color coded. So this is advanced medical directive, power of attorney. So if we take the basic, certificate or the cover page off, over here, it will not say anywhere this is a Sharia compliant will, this is Islamic will, this is everything, anything about Islam. But the distribution is according to Islam, according to Quran. So we follow the rules, and we don't leave a single chance for anybody that can say anything. By the way, this is a trust. So on top of it, so the whole package comes in these for the comprehensive.
Great. I hope this answers the questions. So thank you so much. Now, if anyone has a questions, please unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your questions. Mama Muna, do you have any questions? Or anybody, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, Yasser. How are you? This is Sharif Al Magabbar, your police officer, one of your clients. By the way.
MashaAllah, brother. Welcome.
How are
you? Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. So I do have a will made by Yasser, just to let everyone know. Alhamdulillah, and I did this a few years ago. He did not pay me to say that, just to make it clear, my disclaimer. And I'm not getting any kickbacks from him or anything like that. I just want to say that I know him personally for a few years, and I got a question at the same time.
Sure, brother.
My question is, what is the difference between an Islamic will, which I kind of understand, and a trust fund? Is the trust fund is considered also Islamic, or it depends on how you're going to tailor it to the person?
Okay, brother, there's two things. Number one is a trust document, living revocable trust. And one is a trust fund, which is like, your retirement fund or something that pays you money. So which one are you talking about? The trust fund that it's, investment, or the trust document?
So I'm talking about a trust fund that, let's just say that you're making a trust fund for one of your kids. Okay. And instead of, or in addition to an Islamic will, what is the difference between if I'm making an Islamic will, a generic one for my entire family, right? To let them know how my money will be handled, versus I'm doing a specific trust fund, for example, for each one of my kids. Okay, so basically the way you set it up, you can have it Islamic way. The trust fund, when you create it basically at the end, the funds are only distribution of your money, whatever you gave them to anybody in your lifetime. And you can give any gift to any of your kids or any of your relatives, when you're alive. But upon your death, whatever is under your title will subject to your will. Okay. One last question. I'm sorry here. When you manage, or when you do a trust fund, does it require a certain amount of money, or it could be done with a smaller or versus a larger amount, or how it works?
Brother, it depends on what are you doing it for. For example, sometimes if you have a lot of assets that you want to put it in a trust for, like for example, AGMA or ATMA for the kids, for their education purposes, then if you only put in $200, it's not worth it to set it up a trust, because the cost of setting up the trust fund is going to be more than just putting the money in. So it depends on the situation. But you can call me and I can, I would love to talk to you more about it, trying to figure out what you need, what are you planning to do, and what could be the best option for it.
Inshallah. The trust fund is, when you set it up, does it require like a monthly payment to maintain the account, for example, versus if you're doing a will, you make a one-shot payment for the cost of the will and it's done deal?
Brother, you still are, I think you are, there's a trust document, living revocable trust.
Right.
Just like once you set it up, you have a documentation you prepare, and every year we talk to our clients every year that, if anything changed or anything need to be updated. But the trust fund and the trust documents are two different things.
Okay.
So living revocable trust, when you distribute your assets according to your wills, that's, once you set it up, it's set up. The fund, for example, you are in a police, right?
Yeah,
You have a retirement fund,
I do.
right? So that called police retirement trust fund. You're gonna get benefit from there. So that's when you talk about trust fund, it is that kind of scenario. And we can go on a more personal on, you can give me a call and we can discuss more about it.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah.
Great
Okay.
questions, Brother Sharif. We have Mr. Habib Ghanem and Mama Muna. One by one. Okay, Mr. Habib, go ahead. Ask your
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. How are you, my brother?
Alhamdulillah, brother. I did not know. I thought you look like familiar, but I did not know that you are sitting there too, mashallah. How are you?
I know. I just wanted for you to touch on the difference between the conventional the conventional will and Islamic will, because I have been discussing this, since COVID-19, because anybody can die anytime. So
Yes.
in a heartbeat. And I had a will before that I done with ISNA before, but it needs updating.
Yes.
It was a generic type. It's Islamic, but for example, an issue came up when we were discussing, because my house and my property is in my name and my wife. So automatically, they're saying that my wife would be my beneficiary, but my children too have interests I want to share equally with
Yes.
my children, instead of using the Islamic way where the boys get 2/3 and the girls 1/3.
Yes.
So if you can teach us the difference and send, I know I have your contact, but you can email it to Mama Muna too, or share some of your slides, that would be great. Thank you very much. And I'm going to unmute myself because
Okay. No, you can keep yourself unmuted. I can answer those questions and then you can. So brother, there's a situation, basically state law on the generic will, if it's non-Islamic, it will follow whatever you put it in there. But our goal is not just to follow the Islam, state law. We also need to follow the, Quran and Sunnah, Islamic law as well. So that's why we need to have Islamic will. And as I mentioned, the Quranic ayahs and hadiths, that such a great reward are you getting just for putting Islamic will together for you, for here and thereafter. We all gonna die. We never know until when we're gonna die. So our internal life is next life, which we need to prepare for. And if we can do one deed that can, give us some hope and some chance, and Allah forgive us and put us Jannah, that's one way. Second thing is an estate, regular will. It will, a state will accept your will. And if you have your wife as your property share, 50-50, obviously she will take over and she will be sole beneficiary of your property. And if you transfer it to, then if she transfer to the kids, then it goes to the different level as well. So there's two things can be done. Number one, you can transfer the property to the trust and have all the beneficiary at the same time. In that scenario, you can do two things. Number one, for example, many scenarios are there that husband and wife are in old age. And once the property is transferred to trust, if anything happened to husband or wife, they would like to live in their house as long as they possible before they can distribute to the kids. So instead of they owning a property, they become the managers of the property. The trust owns the property now. And the distribution of the property still follows on the Sharia Islamic way, and they can distribute according to their kids.
Okay, what it's related to that. How about life insurance? Because I don't have whole life, I have term life.
Do you want the life one?
Term, not life, not whole life. I have term. There's no interest in that,
Yeah. No, brother, there's actually three different kind of life insurance. One is term, one is stock-based, one is mutual, one is, there's more into depth. I mean, like if you have just on the interest.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to get into that. I just got the one with with no interest. I got the one with no interest.
You got it. So
Yeah.
life insurance will be designated under the beneficiary. So you have your wife or your kid or whatever you have, you can give them. Second thing you can do, you can evaluate your assets. For example, if everything is combined to $1 million, and you can figure out your shares of your children's and your wife. And if your wife takes the house, then you should compensate them with something else in their shares, in your assets. So you can increase the life insurance, and that will pay them more money, and they can have, your son or your daughter, they can be beneficiary on your life insurance. So to, you know, basically justify your giving to everybody.
Thank you very much. You've answered my question.
Okay.
And don't forget to shoot me an email.
I will love to, brother. You have my cell phone number.
Yeah, I
Anytime.
do. I do. Shoot me an email. I'm
Yeah.
driving right now. That's why.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Sister Muna had a question.
Yes, unmute yourself, Mama Muna.
Is she there or?
Yes, she is. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yes.
All right, that's good, that's good. Malak's training is really working good. So I have a daughter-in-law who's Christian.
Okay.
And in terms of inheritance, how would that work? I mean, she's, if something happens to me, the money is going to go to my son, of course.
Yes.
But if something happens to my son, it's going to go to her.
Okay. So that's, does he have any kids then or no?
Yeah, he has one child, baby, but he's under her care,
Okay, so the child is a Muslim or practicing or?
He's a baby, like he's just a baby.
Okay, okay. So in that scenario, it is a little bit difficult situation because first of all, your daughter-in-law will not inherit anything from you. In-laws don't inherit from in-laws.
Right.
Okay. So.
But they will take it. I mean, she will take my property, right?
Yeah. So basically, your son will inherit from from you, and by Islamic law, he can only give her 1/3 of her from his property as a discretionary. The 1/3 portion is his to distribute. The rest 2/3 need to be distributed according to the Islamic law.
That is, if he does a will,
Yeah, if he does a will. But if he doesn't do a will, then obviously, everything she will take over and she will inherit.
But the question is, I will not be judged by Allah,
No, because
because of this, right?
Yes.
I mean,
your assets are going to your son.
Yeah.
She does, whatever assets you have, you only have one son, mashallah?
I have two sons.
Mashallah.
And both are married to American, one German and one Russian.
Okay, mashallah. So both of your son will inherit your assets, and your daughter-in-laws will not get anything directly from you.
No.
Yeah. So, and then the second step, it goes to your son, and it's upon them that they should teach them, or they can give about 1/3 of their assets to their wife, or or leave it inheritance.
Okay. Well, just one more question, please. I'm confused between the will and the living trust.
Okay.
What's the difference?
Okay, so the difference is living. The will is basic stuff that only contribute. Basically, if you have just a house, or if you not even a house, if your assets are below certain level, that you just want to distribute your will to your sons or something, the guardianship or executor, you choose it under will. But if your assets are larger, if you have a $500,000, $1 million into house, that you want to avoid a probate, you want to control your assets, you want to give it properly, distribute it to your sons, or if you are in a business, then you put your property in a trust.
Okay.
Okay, so the trust is more comprehensive. It's a deeper protection. It will give you much higher, protection level on your the property and distribution on it.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. One to clarify what the question that Mama Muna was asking.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong. When she's saying a living trust, that means it's a trust that she's actually making during her life, correct?
Yes.
And when you're talking about a will, that means that it's what happens after the death of the person, correct?
Yes. So, brother, the trust never dies.
Yeah.
So that's why I call living while a person is alive. It is a revocable trust.
Right.
When somebody dies, it becomes irrevocable. So in their lifelong, they can change it. They can do whatever they want to. They can add property, sell property, do everything. But once the person died, then that trust becomes irrevocable. That nobody else can change it.
Yep. So correct me if I'm answering this in the wrong way to Mama Muna, and I know she's paying attention. I know you're the man who to answer this question. If she wants to, for whatever the reason, just saying this politely, if she wants the daughters-in-law not to get money, isn't it a better deal to have a living trust instead of a will?
Technically, yes, it's more comprehensive. She can, but brother, even she does will or even she does trust, her daughter-in-law will not inherit from her assets directly. Right. So she can spend on, she can enjoy her life, whatever, living. She can give to anybody. She can give a charity to anything. She can have a sadqa jariyah going on. And then whatever left upon, if for God's anything happened to her, then whatever left will go to her sons. And they will live and they can, take care of that. And then if anything happened to, for God's sake, to them, and then the property will goes to their in-laws.
Don, I'm going to give you a what-if scenario here, maybe not related to I'm sorry just to bother you again with one.
No worries. No, you're not bothering me, brother.
Jazakallah khair. So let's just say that a couple got divorced.
Yes.
And the divorce lady in this scenario, does she have the right, or am I saying
no,
does right to go after the living trust? But she obviously will not have the right to go after the will, because the will not apply till the death of the person happened, correct?
Okay, so in Islamic, that's another difference between Islamic law and state law.
Yeah.
State law, if you are divorced, you can still go after your spouse assets. But Islamic law, there's absolutely no, way that you can inherit or you can request anything. So if you have it, as soon you divorce, Islamically, we have to change all the documentations. We have to update all the will and all the trust and everything, and take the person out.
Okay. So just to follow up on Sharif's question, please. How would that stand in a court of law? In the, like, let's say, for example, if we follow the Islamic law.
Yes.
How are we? How is that going to be recognized by a state law that is different from the Islamic law?
Okay, sister. So, for example, if a husband and wife have a divorce, right? You talking about that point?
Yeah, I mean, if we go and do what you are saying, that we change right away, make sure that according to Islamic laws that we are protected this way, but then the state court, the state law says something different.
So state law only says what you wish them to say. So if you have a will written, remember in the beginning we say that you can will anything, you can transfer any asset, even your pet in US. they have to follow your request on your will. So if you take the person, your spouse, out of your assets, they cannot change it. They cannot. They have to obey your wishes, and they have to distribute a property according to your wish. They cannot overrule, and they cannot distribute to ex-spouse or anybody before. So that's why when anything happens, we have to update the documents right away and exclude the person who's divorced.
Okay, great. I think we passed our time, but I can see some other questions. Please, Brother Farouk, do you have any questions? Can you be fast? In less than
Yeah, I just want to ask to have a trust, how much will it cost?
So, brother, it depends on scenario. The trust costs anywhere from about $2,500 to $3,500. And the basic state planning, we charge about $1,000 per person for 3 documents, and about $1,500 for husband and wife. And the trust is on top of it, depending on how much complexity is, how many assets you have, how much the property we have to work on to comprehensively add into it.
I see. Thank you.
Can I have one question, please?
yes, go ahead, and in less than a minute, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Does the stepchildren from your husband is eligible for these things that you have if you're going to write a will?
Okay, so the stepchildren, sister, so if the stepchildren from your husband, they don't inherit anything from you, and your stepchildren from the husband, they will not inherit anything from the husband side.
Okay,
But,
and
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. So they're not eligible.
They're not eligible, but they will get 1/3 of, you can give them up to 1/3 of your assets as a gift. Secondary, if in your lifetime, you can gift anything to anybody, whoever you want.
Even though they're like, let's say you're doing some donation to, some of this endowment, like, public thing, and it's not Islamic organization, that's allowed?
Depends on if if you are giving the money on something which is non-Islamic and which is a sin based, this is not allowed. You cannot waste. The wealth is from Allah, and we have to follow the rules of in Quran by Allah that how to distribute wealth. It's not up to us that we can go ahead and waste in gambling or waste in any other negative things.
No. So like, like a foundation, a scholarship, like Fulbright, or, all of these things.
Yeah, for the educational purposes.
That you graduated from?
Yeah, no. So basically,
No.
you can donate whatever you want on those purposes, as long as not any of the bad things. Obviously, you have to pay for those are necessary cost. For example, if you have to take your children in a college, or you have to pay for the college fees, somebody have to pay for those. So that's in your lifetime, whatever you gave them, it's a gift to them.
So it's allowed.
I'm sorry?
Especially if it's benefit, the public benefit is allowed.
Yes.
And my last question is this: my late former husband had bought me a life insurance.
Yes.
I didn't know about that, but the insurance company, it's now in his estate, in his probate, whatever that is. And right now that insurance company has come after me saying that you have to file for this because this is in your name, so you can change it from his ownership into yours. How does that look to you, sir?
Okay, so let me get the question right. So your husband had a life insurance for you?
Yeah, under my name, yes.
Under your name. So you are the owner of the policy. So definitely.
No, I'm not. I'm not the owner. He was the one who paid for it. So he is the owner of the
Okay.
The life insurance. And right now it's
Yes,
it's under probate because he passed away.
Okay, so that if he's the owner, it should not be actually because you are it's on your life. So you can change the ownership change is not a difficult task. please give me a call on my cell phone, and then my cell phone is 410-903.
1306.
Yeah, 1396, 1396.
1396 903 1396. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so I'm very familiar with all the life insurances, so we can discuss in a personal, private.
Okay, great. Thank you all of you for the questions. That was really a great session. On the behalf of the organization, thank you so much, Mr. Zia. That was an amazing training. Mama Muna, would you like to conclude?
Yes, please. Once more, I want to, thank you for a wonderful, 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 engaging presentation. Congratulations. And I would like to invite you to be one of our ambassadors. So Yasser, inshallah, the conversation will continue between us, and hopefully you will be on board with us, and you will be part of our, inshallah, organization, bi'Iznillah. So looking forward to continuing the conversation with you. Thank you very, very much.
Jazakallah, sister. It's my honor, and I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to such a nice people.
Inshallah.
I'm always here. My cell phone is there. Anybody have any questions, any concern, anytime. The only time my phone is off when I'm in a meeting, or even at nighttime I don't turn my phone on. Anytime anybody have a questions and concern, our goal is to provide the best possible services to our Muslim community as best of our ability as possible.
Thank you.
So
And
whenever,
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say we want to thank Fadwa Hajj for introducing us to you. And
she's a pleasure. She's the mashallah.
Really.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much. Jazakallah, everybody.
Don't forget to hit me, man.
I will inshallah text you, and I will call you inshallah.
And Aidat Oladapo is asking, Ambassador Oladapo is asking if the session is recorded. And
it is actually, the session is recorded, and I will be providing the link to everybody soon, inshallah. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Yasser. You may leave the meeting now, since we have another meeting with our ambassadors.
Right away.
Okay.
Yes, and I will be stopping the recording now. Thank you.
All right.